Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Glory video, and today guys we are going to be continuing with our Warlord Wednesday series where we take a look at the game Bolt Action. Now over the last few weeks guys I have done some varied tactical content. I've done specific things like looking at the Japanese Banzai charge and some more general things looking at how to build the general concepts of bringing a balanced army to the field of battle. But what I realised is most these tactics videos are great, but where I need to be looking, where I need to be starting, because a lot of people, this will be getting into Bolt Action for the first time. We do have some veterans that follow the channel, but for some people, they're going to be seeing these videos, they're going to be like, Mordian Glory is going on about this game, I want to check it out, but I don't know where to start. So what I figured is a lot of people start by trying to put together an army list. I don't know about you guys, but me, what I like to do if I'm considering a faction, be it for 40k or for Bolt Action, I go, right, let's get, Battle Scribe or the equivalent up, and I'll put the units in and I'll see if I can build this idea that I've got in my head, or see if this sort of theme works, or what the points for this faction look like. So I thought, you know what, why don't I put together a video talking about a basic beginner take all comers army list that people can put together using one of the Warlord Games starter sets. So this is going to be a specific video looking at a specific starter set for a specific faction, but hopefully it'll be quite a nice entryway, gateway video, not gatekeeper, but gateway video for people who may come across this and go, right, I'm not entirely sure what this Bolt Action thing is, but I know that if I buy this and I build it and I do it this way and I make this army list, I should be able to go into my first game with a reasonable chance of being able to do okay. And that's what this is for. This is not the most competitive video or anything like that. This is a good getting started, how to build your first army, how to put your first army list together video for Bolt Action. And I'm going to be doing this for the Germans. And that's because I recently got into my German army and I sort of did lots of research and asked lots of players for advice and whatnot. And so I'm hoping, which took me ages and ages before I even put my first models together. And I want to cut that difficult work out for you guys. If you just watch this video, you'll be able to basically learn all the lessons I learned in a fraction of the time. So without further ado, let's dive straight into today's video. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick a starter set. Now there's loads of different starter sets for the Germans you can pick. You've got the Blitzkrieg one, you've got the SS, you've got the Afrika Korps. But the one that I would recommend, and the one that I got, was the Winter German starter set. And that's the pitch that you can see up on your screen now. Now the reason why this starter set is just so good is because it gives you all of the infantry that you're ever going to need for your German army. You see, this comes with, I think, maybe only the Soviet army comes with more infantry than this. This comes with a staggering 48 infantry. Most other box sets with Bolt Action, starter sets with Bolt Action, come with a single box of infantry, which will typically be about 30. Okay, so the fact that this comes with 48 is really, really big, because one of the things that I learned, especially when I was doing like my Japanese before I did my Germans, was that you need like more than 30 infantry, but you don't really need 60 infantry. Maybe you will do if you're running like a specific horde army like Bamboo Spearfighter spam or Soviet conscript spam. But the vast majority of beginner armies, people just getting into it, of just take all comers factions, non-memey, non-skew list armies, they need somewhere between 30. They need more than 30, but they need less than 60. So sometimes you'll buy a starter set and then you're like, right, well now I've got to go and buy another box of infantry on top of that. Which, you don't have to. You can like make all your guys veteran or whatnot. But I tend to find you need just a little bit more than 30 infantry. And so this army is great because it gives you 48 bog standard dudes. And that means that you might only use like 35 or 40 infantry in your army. That's the most you might use. But it means you've got 8 spare dudes. That means you don't have to agonize too much about how to build them. You can get your squads roughly in order, and then you've got these sort of remaining 8 to 10 blokes that you can just build with some fun weapon options like some Panzerfaust or maybe a couple of extra SMGs, even though assault rifles are meant to be better for the Germans and whatnot. It just gives you a bit of flexibility. So the reason I like the starter set and the reason I've picked this as my favourite starter set, not just for Germans but just in general, my favourite starter set is because it comes with 48 infantry. You'll never need to buy another infantry box for your Germans if you don't want to. This will do you. So that's the first thing. Second thing is it comes with a tank and a truck. Now, for a lot of factions, people like to run like a tank and an armoured car. But I found with the Germans that your armoured cars are good, but your tanks can be kind of pricey. And you do want a tank, but it's sometimes can be a bit tricky to know which one to pick. And the Panzer IV, which is a tank that comes in this start set, is just a fantastic middle of the road main battle tank. It's not like a really heavy tank like a Tiger, and it's not like a light tank like the Panzer III or something like that. It's just a straight up medium tank. Okay, and it is like any good medium tank, it is a jack of all trades. And with this kit, you get all the options you'll need. So you can build it with a heavy anti-tank gun, you can build it with a howitzer, and so you can magnetize it. I magnetize mine really easily, so it's really simple to just you can swap those weapons out how you need it. And the Panzer IV is great because it literally can be used in basically any time period. I'm pretty sure they had Panzer IVs in the invasion of France. Not too many of them, but they had them, and they used them all the way through to the end of the war. So the great thing about that, about this starter set, is that you've got loads of infantry and you've got a tank. Which if your mate wants to play Fall of France, you can do that. If your mate wants to play Battle of Seelow Heights, late war Germans versus Soviets, you can do that. You don't need to go and buy another vehicle to try and accommodate that. So it's a great all-round vehicle. You just can't go wrong with a decent medium tank in bot action. It's never going to be the best, but it's never going to be the worst. It's never going to be as super points efficient as maybe some of the really early war stuff that does, which is a bit of a funny point, but actually it's never super efficient like that, but it's never going to be a massive point sink like a Tiger tank or a King Tiger. And the second thing to mention is the truck. Now, the truck is really important for two reasons. And many people, including myself, make this mistake when they first get into bot action and they don't get transports. Because they look at things like truck. Maybe you'll get like a half track because you think they're cool, right? But the thing is that trucks are fantastic in bot action. Every veteran that I've ever spoken to, when I was getting into the game with my Japanese, said, "Oh, you'll want a couple of trucks," and I didn't bother picking them up, and I regret it. And because trucks are great, and they're great for two reasons. Number one, in bot action, you can disembark after moving a truck. And a truck can go 12 inches and your dudes can disembark. If you're on a road, your movement doubles, which means your truck could go 24 inches and your men can disembark afterwards. The other thing is that if you don't necessarily want to disembark at the same turn that you move forward, your truck can go flat out and it can go 24 inches in one turn. And no one can get out of it, they're just clinging on for grim death. Or, if you're on a road, you double that. So you could potentially go 48 inches. So they are soft-skinned, which means that they can be, just be shot up by small arms and whatnot. But you just use them as a delivery mechanism. And they just get your blokes into position and they jump out and they're fantastic. So that's the first reason why trucks are great and the primary reason. A secondary reason, which a lot of people forget about, is that they can also tow things. So if you've got like medium howitzers or medium anti-tank guns, then realistically they need to be towed, or maybe it's heavy anti-tank, I'm not sure, but realistically they need to be towed onto the battlefield. They're too heavy for people to just wheel them around. It's not like just packing up a mortar or packing up a machine gun. If you've got like a heavier piece of artillery, you need something that can potentially tow that around the battlefield, because for some missions in bot action, no one starts on the board. No, everyone starts off and you have what's called like first wave, where units come in from reserve from turn one. This is a whole mechanism, I won't get into it now. But if you haven't got a tow for your artillery piece, then you can't bring it in. It just sits in reserve the whole game and dies. And if you're randomly rolling for a mission, that might happen. There might be nothing you can do. Now, of course, you could house rule it with your opponent or whatever. That's fine if it's a friendly game. But if you're playing any kind of competitive game or even semi-competitive game where you're just playing by the rules as written, that's how your group likes to play, you need that tow. So that's the second thing. And this starter set comes with one. And the best thing is it comes with the Opel Blitz truck. Now, the Opel Blitz can be built as either a regular truck or it can be built as a half-track. I think it's like called the Multier truck. And that's really good because it's a half-track. It can tow heavier things. So it's really good. So what you've got is all the infantry you're going to need. A nice medium tank, jack-of-all-trades medium tank with loads of flexibility on it. It's a classic German tank. And then you've got that truck. So you've got loads of tactical viability. And then it comes with all the officers and support teams that you're going to need. So this kit actually comes with a senior officer and a junior officer. And that's the senior officer, the guy in the fur coat, and the junior officer is the guy with the gun over his shoulder pointing. You can see that on the picture. Thing is, though, how I use these models and how everyone uses them is you just don't use the senior officer model as a senior officer. You just say, he's my lieutenant. And you have the pointing dude. He's just the lieutenant's assistant, because you always need an assistant with your officer. Well, you don't always, but it's highly recommended. So it's just really good. So you get all the models you need, and then lastly, you get your mortar, and mortars are just essential. You will just learn very quickly that every single player, every single army wants to be turning up with a medium mortar at least. Light mortars are kind of fluffy. Heavy mortars are very good, but they're a little expensive. Medium mortar is the first thing that I put on every single list. They're just that they give you a little bit of HE. So if you start having to dig people out of cover, you're dealing with a lot of veterans. We've talked about that in one of my previous videos. They give you that bit of HE, and they also can they give you anti-enemy artillery because they can start ranging in. They're really, really good mortars. You just do not want to leave the battlefield without one. And it comes with a spotter for your mortar as well, which is fantastic. Last but not least, it comes with a medic, I should mention as well. I actually don't use the medic rule. I actually just use those. It's like 2 guys on 1 base. I just use them with a couple of extra riflemen. So actually, in a funny sort of way, this starter set, the way I've done it, comes with 50 dudes. That's really, really good. 50 blokes in a starter set. That's more than you're ever going to need. But last but certainly not least, you get the medium machine gun. Now, a lot of people will tell you medium machine guns aren't really worth it in bot action. And they're probably right. But it's funny. I tend to find the medium machine guns the coolest model for every faction. They're just cool. And at the end of the day, whilst they might not be the most points efficient, they are actually still fine. They're still a cheap team. It's 50 points. It's not breaking the bank. And with Germans, at the very least, you do get to take advantage of your army trait, which is Hitler's Buzzsaw, where all your machine guns get an extra dice. So an allied machine gun, medium machine gun, will get 5 shots. German one gets 6. Allied light machine gun gets 4 shots. German one gets 5. So it's nice, and it's you can't not take an MG42. I mean, come on, you got to take an MG42, right? So now we know what comes in the starter set, and now you know why I think it's one of the best ones. And if you go and compare this to some of the other ones, like if you look at the Africa Corps one, yeah, it's a little cheaper, but you're getting a flak 88, which is good, but it's kind of, you don't get a tow for the flak 88. So if you have a mission where you have to tow it on, you're going to have a bad time. And also it only comes with 30 infantry, so you might find you just need a little bit more infantry, and then you end up buying a whole more box. And yeah, you've got the SS starter set, which is good. It comes with a Tiger and a Stug, but you can never really use both in a normal single platoon game. And then you've got the Blitzkrieg one, which I think is pretty good as well. But like I said, this is my favourite one. This is my favourite starter set. And I think it's really good. Now, some of you might say, oh, but I don't necessarily want winter. I'm not always going to be fighting in winter. The way I've painted mine up, I didn't paint them at winter. And you'll see that my army, it's almost finished painting. I'll be doing a sort of a reveal video later. I was hoping to have my models painted up for this video, but didn't quite get it done in time. But I just painted mine up as just like German grey trench coats. And my thinking was that the Germans are famous for their sort of German greatcoats and Stahlhelms, and that's just a classic sort of German look. So I figured a greatcoat and a helmet can be almost any Axis faction. It's not, as long as you don't cover them in snow and everything, they look fine. They're just wearing greatcoats. It's just a bit chilly. That's it. It's just a cold day and they've got the greatcoats on. So that's how I see it. You don't have to go all in on the winter theme. You can paint them however you want. And, that's how I've done mine. I think they look great on the battlefields, if I do say so myself. So there we go. Now, this starter set is £100. Pretty much all of the big starter sets like this are £100 from Warlords. But you can get this very easily from a discount retailer. You've got people like Goblin Gaming. They're not a sponsor of the channel, but I've used them myself a couple of times in the past. And they give like 10-20% off, so it starts looking like £90 or £80. You do have some other discount retailers. I have seen this set for £66. Like that's like 34% off, which is pretty mad. You know, and that, you know, that's from places that, you know, people that don't hold physical stock, so that they can give bigger discounts on one, but it takes like 2 weeks to a month for it to arrive. So you've got all that, you've got loads of options. The point is let's say you can get this for about 80 quid from a discount retailer, right? For a middling discount retailer. That's the same price as getting a Combat Patrol box from Games Workshop. And a Combat Patrol box will give you like a squad and a vehicle and maybe something else. And you're going to need a hell of a lot more than that to get a 40k army. And this will cost you 80 quid. And you may never need to buy another model ever again for bolt action. You could buy this one starter set and that'll be that. So, I appreciate that we're a little bit into this video now. I will put timestamps down at the bottom of the video so people can skip ahead to the list if they want to. But this is kind of, the first part is a review of the German starter set, winter starter set, and why I like it so much. So second part of this video, which we'll get into now, is going to be the army list that I put together, your standard take-all-comers German army list that you can use building this set. So I have put the pictures of the list up here. It's going to be in two parts. So I'll go through the first half of the list and I'll go through the second half of the list, and then I'll put, you should be able to copy that down. I built this using Easy Army Builder, and it's an absolutely fantastic app. It puts Battle Scribe to shame, to be honest. It has every option you could possibly ever need in there. For every faction. It's totally free. It's kept up to date. It's really, really, the day of the latest sort of faction supplement coming out, the guy had this, it's not factional, it's a campaign book. Get my 40k terms mixed up there. The day that it came out, the guy had it up to date. So Easy Army, definitely check it out. It's a really good way to start putting your armies together, putting your list together. Now, first thing that I did is you've got to pick your officer, right? That's the first thing you've got to do when you're putting together your army. And so you always want to take a lieutenant. Now, for a lot of factions, I'd recommend you take a second lieutenant because you want that nice leadership buff. But most importantly, you want to be able to snap to 2 units. Now, I won't get into the details of what snap 2 is and all that. But basically, it means if you activate your officer, you can activate 2 other units around him. If you've got a good, well, if you've got a second lieutenant, it's 1 extra unit, which isn't really a big deal because you might as well have just activated that original unit. But if you've got a first lieutenant, you can activate 2 units and your officer in one go, which is really good for if you need to get a surge on, get a good attack on, rather than waiting for the dice to come out one at a time from the back. But with Germans, I actually say just take a second lieutenant, because you have a special army rule that says your officers can do an additional snap 2. So your second lieutenant can do 2 rather than 1. And that's the main reason I like to take officers, is for the snap 2. I find the leadership buff is okay, but you don't really need it unless you're taking a lot of inexperienced troops. So I take a second lieutenant, and you can give him an assault rifle for free, so why wouldn't you? I mean, the model that comes in this kit is, in the starter army, is a submachine gun, but yeah, again, that's fine. Submachine gun or assault rifle, you get that for free. Your officers get their upgrades for free because it's not a big deal. That's the same for every faction. And then I give him 1 extra man, not 2. First mistake that I see everyone who puts together a bolt action army for the first time is they give the officer can take himself and up to 2 extra dudes, and everyone goes, oh, I want to get as many men surrounding my officer as possible because I don't want him to get sniped out. If you take 3 people, then your officer counts as a regular sized squad, not as a small squad. And small squads in bolt action are 2 or less people, and they get an inbuilt -1 to hit. So what you do is you take an officer and 1 extra man as an extra wound for him, a bullet magnet, bullet sponge for him, and then you don't take any more because you want to keep that -1 to hit. So it's like a little 10-point upgrade to give your officer an extra wound, basically, is how I see it. So that's the first thing you want to do. And again, that his attendant gets his weapon for free as well. So what a quite cheesy tactic that a lot of people will do with their Germans is they'll take an officer and 1 guy and give them both assault rifles, because it's like you're getting 10 points for free. It's not cheesy at all. It's just normal. It's what people do. Every American player is going to take 2 SMGs. Every Brit player is going to take 2 SMGs. It's free. Take a couple of extra points. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to influence the game. So that's the first thing that I'd take. I take my little second lieutenant and I take a dude with him, and he can run around, give him +1 leadership, and he can do 2 snap 2, which is great. So the second thing that I like to take is a good old-fashioned grenadier squad. Now, you can take there is here infantry squads and here grenadier squads. Just take grenadier squads. Here regular infantry squads are kind of the early war, essentially. You want to be looking at the grenadier squad. So that's the first thing to mention. If you're picking an infantry unit for your Germans, take the grenadier squad. If you're not sure what to pick, they're take or come as standard unit. Now, I like to take a couple of these bad boys, big, maxed out 10-man squads. I like taking just a couple of big blocks of infantry because 10 is the max. And in there, I like to just make these units just able to just deal with any situation. So I have 6 standard blokes with rifles. And then I give the NCO and I give 2 extra guys in the squad assault rifles. Assault rifles are really good. They get 2 shots at 18-inch range instead of 1 shot at 24-inch range like a regular rifle. But they can move and shoot without penalty and they're better in close combat. So I like to take just that because it allows my squad to have a bit of long-range firepower with those rifles, a bit of close-range firepower. I can move and shoot and not lose all of the firepower in my squad. So it will not lose, take a -1 on the whole squad. Just gives you that little bit of flexibility, and it's cheap because it's only 15 points rather than taking like veterans, giving everyone assault rifles. So I take 6 regular rifle dudes, I take an SCO with an assault rifle, I take 2 infantry with assault rifles, and then I take a light machine gun. Now, in certain German squads, you can take like 2 light machine guns in a squad, but that's expensive. Light machine guns are 20 points, and they require a loader, which means one of your riflemen doesn't get to shoot. So really, it's 5 riflemen that get to shoot. You've got 6 in the squad, but only 5 of them get to shoot. One's too busy loading the light machine gun. And what I like about this squad is, like I said, take or come, is you've got a bit of long-range Daka with that light machine gun. You've got a bit of medium-range shooting with the rifles. You've got some close range and combat capability with the STG-44 assault rifles. And this squad, again, it's take or come. It's got bodies, so it can hold a key objective, or it's got enough men to soak up men on the casualties on the way in. It's got long range, short range, and medium range firepower. It's got combat capabilities. It's got suppressive capabilities. It can just do a little bit of everything. And the best bit is, if you just take it as regular, it's relatively cheap. It's only 135 points for this 10-man squad, and you take 2 of them. And so what you've got there is a nice core to your army. You've got a 2nd lieutenant, and you've got these 2 big squads which can basically handle any situation that you throw them at. Then what I like to do is take just a little small light machine gun squad, and this is just a regular squad of grenadiers. There's only 5 of them this time rather than 10. And I've given, the NCO's got an assault rifle because, again, it just gives you that little bit of, if someone wants to try and assault you off an objective, you've got a little bit of tough fighter, a little bit to push them back. But the main thing is you've got a light machine gun in there. And the reason you've got that light machine gun is because what you want to do with this squad is you might have an objective you need to hold, or you just want to be able to just get a little bit of, overlapping field of fire on someone. But it's just a nice little source of a light machine gun. And you got the couple of riflemen that I'll get to fire as well. And it's 5 wounds. It's nice. And there's nothing wrong with a little 5-man squad with an LMG. It's not the best unit. It's not the most competitive unit. But what's important is it's an extra dice in the bag. Okay, because remember, you don't just want to have all big squads, because then you'll only have like 7 dice. And your opponent, like you might have a Soviet opponent, who's got 13 dice, and he's going to keep pulling his dice out of that bag first, which means he might get the jump on you. So I like to have a couple of big squads, and then I like to have a few small, to give me some core, and then I like to have this nice little small squad that can just hold down a little flank, just dig its way into cover, and just give some little support fire. It's just the way I like to have it. Then I'd like to take another one of those. So I have 2 squads like that. So I've got 2 big squads with 3 assault rifles and a light machine gun, and then I've got 2 squads of just 5 with a light machine gun in each. And again, they're just there. So if I need to, leave my small squads behind to just hold the line, the big squads can move up and start messing with people. You could easily swap one of those light machine guns out for some more assault rifles if you wanted. That is definitely an option you could have. But I just, the way I like to take advantage of my army special rules, which is why I like to take as many machine guns as possible. And light machine guns with Germans are pretty good. You get that extra shot. Now, What we've got here is we've got a couple of defensive units with those light machine guns. We've got a couple of those take-all-comers units with, you know, assault rifles, light machine guns, rifles. But then what you want is just a dedicated attacking unit. And the best thing that I find for this is veterans. Veterans can take more special weapons, and they are harder to kill. So I take a 7-man veteran squad, and I give the NCO and one dude an extra assault rifle, and then I take 5 submachine guns. Now some people are going to be smashing that keyboard straight away and be saying, "But Morning Glory, why are you taking machine guns, SMGs? Why aren't you taking assault rifles? Assault rifles are so much better." It's like, yeah, they are, but that's an extra 10 points to take those submachine guns up to assault rifles. And when you're in combat, and when you're, I don't know, jumping out of a truck into point blank range, a submachine gun is just the same as an assault rifle, but it's cheaper. In combat, it's cheaper and does exactly the same thing. This squad is your assault squad, and I don't just mean like attacking upwards, I mean physically getting into close combat and beating the crap out of people. You've got a couple of assault rifles in there if you need them. And I also like to put a couple of Panzerfausts in here as well, because I like this. There might be an occasion when you need to drive your men up in the truck, jump out and launch a couple of Panzerfausts, a little one-shot Panzerfausts into an enemy truck, and it gives you a little bit more anti-tank in this list, just sprinkling more. So that is all of my core infantry. I've got 2 big squads, 2 little squads, and a medium-sized veteran grenadier squad, and that is for a total of 37 infantry. If you include the officer, 39 infantry. So you can see, out of the 48 infantry that we've used, that we get with the starter set, we've used 37, which is quite a lot. You know, a lot of armies will only take, might only take sort of 30 if they're going all veteran, but it means you've got so many more sort of weapon options when it comes to building your dudes. So then after that, we've got our support units. So we've got the medium machine gun, because like I said, you just can't really go wrong with the classic medium machine gun. It's good for the Germans. It's thematic. And, you can imagine if you're doing a mission like Demolition where you need to hold one of your objectives whilst trying to take one of the enemies. It's almost like capture the flag. You know what's perfect for that? You've got a medium machine gun, for holding your own objective. That might be like a house or something. Medium machine gun, 2 small squads of light machine guns, and then a medium mortar. Perfect. And so that's why I've got the medium mortar in there as well. And then we've got our Panzer IV, and we've made, because at this point we haven't got a huge amount of anti-tank in this list, and we just need something that's just a dedicated vehicle crusher. So that's why we've got a Panzer IV, and we've taken it with the, as the model H or J, and that means that it gets the heavy anti-tank gun, which is not only great for killing tanks, because it's got a really good penetration value, it's actually got a decent HE value. In fact, the template, the high explosive template for the Panzer IV-H and Panzer IV-J is the same size as your mortar. So there you go. So you've got and it comes with 2 medium machine as well. Admittedly, one of those is a coax, which means if it's a coax gun, you either fire the main gun or you fire the MG. But you still get one front-facing, hull-mounted medium machine gun, which you can't go wrong with. It's an extra 6 anti-infantry shots. And the best bit about taking an H or a J, this is very important to be aware of, is you get the Tiger Fear special rule. Not every German tank gets Tiger Fear. And Tiger Fear, basically, if your enemy can see a tank and it's within 18 inches, it gets -1 leadership, essentially. So it's actually really, you can use this tank to blow up enemy vehicles with a big heavy anti-tank gun, or blow up enemy infantry with, the heavy anti-tank gun or the 2 medium machine guns. And then last but not least, we have a regular old truck. Now I take my truck as a veteran. Some people might say that's foolish, but the reason I take it as a veteran is because if it's coming in from reserve, you're going to need that extra leadership. Because when you're bringing in reserves in bot action, you don't just come in automatically. You've got to pass a leadership test at -1. So for veterans, you've got to get 9 or less on 2 dice. So that's, that's pretty unique. It's worth it. You don't want to take a leadership test at leadership 8, do you? No, you want to take a leadership test at leadership 9. It's much more likely to go off. So you take the amount of times. I actually wish I had enough points to upgrade my Panzer IV to veteran, because even though veteran tanks are often seen as a bit of a point sink, you know what? The number of times that I've left my Panzer IV off the board, and it's failed to come in at a key moment because it's only regular and it fails that leadership test. And if it had been veteran, it would have passed. Yeah. So, but anyway, regular tanks are better. And so what I've built with this list is we've got a couple of veteran units, but most of it is regular. And that means that it's very standard, run-of-the-mill. It's not going to be overly cheesy with everything being veteran or everything being experienced. And it's just got a little bit of veteran in there just to give you a flavour for it. But by and large, it lets you've got a decent amount of bodies on the board. You know, if you look at just your infantry corps, you're looking at 39 people, and you've got a couple of weapon teams and a couple of trucks. And overall, the number of dice you get in this army is 10. Now, I am sure that there'll be some people down in the comment section that will have a lot of great advice saying how we could get 11 or maybe even 12 dice squeezed out of this army. But this is based on the start set, based on the models that you get. This is, I feel, 10 dice is the minimum you want to be aiming for when you're putting together an 1,000-point army. Most people will, if you're playing like a semi-regulated sort of game, the sort of standard competitive is to have a 12 dice limit or 13 dice if you're Soviets, because Soviets tend to be able to get a few more men. So, you know, having 10 is good, but having 9, if you have 9 dice, you'll definitely notice the enemy pulling the end. You're playing something like Soviets, you can get like 12 or 13 dice. You'll definitely notice that the enemy keeps pulling their dice first, which is really bad. Sometimes it's really bad. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that video. That's the list. Like I said, you will have it on the screen now. Go and check out Easy Army Builder. I'll put a link down to that description below. And that's everything for today's video. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you're a noob and you want to ask some questions, of course, put it down in the comment section below. If I don't get back to you, I'm sure someone else will do. We've got a great community on this channel. And likewise, if you're a veteran who's been playing by action for a while, go down to the comment section and tell me your favorite start set. Tell me your recommended take all comers, not too complicated, beginner friendly army. This is what I've come up with. This is one I played a few games with and I found to be able to do a little bit of everything. It does have some holes. It doesn't have an armored car. It doesn't have a howitzer. You know, there are some holes in it, but based on this starter set, this is what I deem to be like a really, that starter set is so good for just getting a nice take all comers force. You get a bit of everything. And this is the list that I put together with it. And it's not overly spammy. You've not got like loads of light machine guns or loads of STG-44s. You've just got like 9 or 10 assault rifles, nothing too cheesy. You've got a few submachine guns in there as well. And you've got a few light machine guns, and it's just a nice, well balanced. A couple of Panzerfaust. Very well balanced this. The only thing it could probably do with is maybe a howitzer of some kind or a sniper team, something like that. But it's not missing too much. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Like I said, put loads of stuff down in the comment section below. I want to say a massive thank you to the Patreon supporters. You guys are absolutely fantastic. And if you want to support this channel on Patreon, there will be a link down in the description below. But without further ado, we'll wrap the video up there. Thank you for watching, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.